The morning sun of Grimhole Prime cast long shadows across the military academy's training grounds. Daisung stood quietly at the edge of the firing range, watching as Instructor Kelmoon prepared the plasma weapon demonstration. The eight-limbed Arachnus was considered the finest marksman in the Talvex Empire, and today's showcase would prove why. General Vrilthur arrived with a group of dignitaries from 12 different worlds. They gathered in the observation area, protected by reinforced shields designed to withstand direct plasma strikes. Daisung had been teaching hand-to-hand combat at the academy for 3 months now, but he still felt like an outsider. The other instructors treated him politely, but he could sense their doubt. Humans were new to the galactic community, barely trusted with basic roles. His younger brother Hyan Wu approached from the administrative building, carrying a datapad. "They're starting soon," Hyan Wu said in Korean, keeping his voice low. "General Vrilthur specifically requested you attend. He wants to see how humans react to advanced weaponry." Daisung nodded. He understood the real message. They were testing him, always testing. Every human in Talvex space lived under constant scrutiny. Earth had only made contact with the galactic community 40 years ago, and most species still saw humans as primitive newcomers who got lucky with faster-than-light technology. Kelmoon raised 4 of his arms, commanding attention. His voice boomed across the range through translation devices everyone wore. "Today we demonstrate the KX-7 plasma rifle, latest advancement in directed energy weapons. This weapon fires superheated plasma at temperatures exceeding 15,000 degrees. Impact velocity reaches 0.97 light speed over short distances." The dignitaries murmured appreciation. Daisung watched as technicians set up targeting drones at various distances. The first few shots went perfectly. Kelmoon fired, and each drone exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The crowd applauded politely. "Now we demonstrate maximum power setting," Kelmoon announced. He adjusted the rifle, and Daisung noticed the weapon's cooling system glowing brighter. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't explain what. Just a feeling in his chest, like static electricity building before a storm. Kelmoon fired. The plasma bolt streaked toward the farthest target, a beautiful arc of deadly light. Then everything went wrong. The containment field flickered. Some technician had made an error in the setup. The plasma bolt hit the field at the wrong angle, and ricochet. Time seemed to slow down. Daisung watched the bolt change direction, heading straight toward the observation platform where General Vrilthur and the dignitaries stood. The safety shields were down. Someone had lowered them during the break between demonstrations. The bolt would hit them in less than 2 seconds. Everyone froze. Guards reached for weapons they couldn't fire in time. Automated defense systems began powering up, but they needed 3 seconds minimum. Dignitaries started to scatter, but they would never move fast enough. Daisung didn't think. His body simply moved. He crossed 15 meters in what felt like 3 heartbeats. His legs pushed against the ground with force that cracked the concrete beneath him. The world blurred around him as he accelerated. He reached out with his right hand, fingers spread wide. The plasma bolt hit his palm. Heat washed over him, incredible and intense. It should have vaporized his hand, his arm, his entire body. Instead, his skin absorbed the energy. His hand glowed white-hot for a moment, then red, then back to normal flesh tone. The plasma dissipated harmlessly around his fingers like water hitting stone. Silence fell over the training ground. Daisung stood there, arms still extended, breathing normally. He looked at his hand. Not even a burn mark. He flexed his fingers. Everything worked fine. General Vrilthur spoke first, his voice shaking. "What? How did you?" Daisung lowered his hand. "I'm sorry for the disruption, General. I just reacted on instinct." He spoke calmly, but his mind was racing. He had never done anything like that before. Sure, he knew humans were tougher than most species realized, but catching plasma? That seemed excessive, even for human standards. Hyam Woo reached his brother's side, eyes wide. He grabbed Daesung's hand and examined it. "Are you insane?" he whispered in Korean. "You just caught a plasma bolt." "It seemed like the right thing to do," Daesung replied quietly. Instructor Kalmoon approached, all 8 arms trembling. "Impossible. The temperature alone should have killed you instantly. Your reaction time. I have cybernetic enhancements, and I couldn't have moved that fast. The distance you covered. No organic being can accelerate like that." Daesung wanted to disappear. Everyone was staring at him now. The dignitaries whispered among themselves, their translation devices creating a buzz of shocked voices in a dozen languages. General Vrilther recovered his composure. "Instructor Daesung, you will come with me immediately. We need to discuss what just happened." The rest of the day passed in a blur of questions. Daesung sat in a military office, while officers and scientists asked him the same things over and over. How did he move so fast? How did he survive the heat? Had he been genetically modified? Did he have hidden implants? He gave him honest answers. No modifications. No implants. He just moved when he saw people in danger. His body did what it needed to do. They didn't believe him. How could they? According to every scientific principle, the Talvex understood what he did was impossible. But the security footage didn't lie. 40 different cameras captured the moment from every angle. By evening, Hyun Woo managed to get Daesung released to his quarters. As they walked through the academy grounds, his brother spoke quietly. "News is spreading. I've been getting messages from Earth. The diplomatic corps wants a full report. The Talvex High Council has called an emergency session." "All this because I caught something?" Daesung asked. "You don't understand," Hyam said. "The Talvex have religious texts called the Divine Limitations. They say all living beings have fixed physical boundaries, set by the creator gods. Every species has been measured and categorized. According to those texts, what you did today shouldn't be possible for any organic life form." Daesung stopped walking. "What do the texts say about humans?" Hyun Woo pulled out his datapad and read from it. "Humans, adequate physical specimens, limited neural processing suitable for basic labor and support roles." He looked up. "That assessment was made 40 years ago when we first made contact. The Talvex scientists tested a few hundred humans and decided we were unremarkable. I guess their tests were wrong," Daesung said. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the moment in his mind. The feeling of the plasma hitting his hand. The heat spreading through his body and dissipating. It hadn't hurt, exactly. It felt more like catching a baseball, just much hotter. His body had simply handled it. What bothered him more was the distance he covered. 15 meters in less than 2 seconds. He had never timed himself sprinting, but that seemed fast even for a human. Maybe adrenaline had helped? People did impossible things in emergencies. His communicator buzzed. A message from General Vrilther. "Report to Medical Research Facility 7 tomorrow at dawn. Bring personal effects for extended stay. Mandatory compliance." Daesung sighed. He knew what this meant. They were going to study him, test him, try to understand what happened. He could refuse, but that would create a diplomatic incident. Earth needed good relations with the Talvex Empire. He sent a quick message to Hyun-woo, then tried to sleep. Tomorrow would bring answers, or at least more questions. Either way, his quiet life as a combat instructor was over. He had caught a plasma bolt, and now the entire galaxy wanted to know how. The research facility looked more like a prison than a medical center. Daesung arrived at dawn as ordered, carrying a small bag with basic supplies. Hyun Woo came with him, refusing to let his brother face this alone. Dr. Deshran met them at the entrance. The scientist was a Veltharus, a species known for their analytical minds and 6 fingers on each hand. Instructor Daesung, thank you for coming voluntarily. I assure you, these tests are purely scientific. We wish to understand, not harm. How long will this take? Hyun Woo asked. As long as necessary, a new voice said. Cardinal Verthax stepped from the shadows, his religious robes flowing around his tall frame. The divine limitations are sacred law. What happened yesterday challenges everything we know about creation itself. We must have answers. Daesung noticed armed guards stationed at every corridor. Voluntary, they said. But he knew better. If he tried to leave, they would stop him. Earth's government had sent messages telling him to cooperate, to show humanity had nothing to hide. Easy for them to say from light years away. The first tests were simple. They measured his height, weight, bone density, muscle composition. Everything came back within normal human ranges. Dr. Deshran seemed confused by this. Your physical structure appears completely ordinary. No enhanced musculature, no reinforced skeletal system. By all metrics, you are an average human specimen. I could have told you that, Daesung said. Next came strength tests. They asked him to lift progressively heavier weights. He managed loads that made the observers whisper among themselves. Dr. Deshran checked his equipment twice. This should require cybernetic enhancement. Your muscle density doesn't support this level of force output. Maybe your calculations are wrong, Daesung suggested. Cardinal Verthax frowned. The calculations are based on divine principles. They cannot be wrong. The speed tests produced similar results. Daesung ran on a treadmill while sensors measured his movement. He reached speeds that the monitors claimed were impossible for organic beings. Dr. Deshran looked genuinely fascinated now, taking notes constantly. Your neural response time is the most interesting, the scientist said. When we flash a light, you react in 0.03 seconds. Our fastest species, Bakilrathi, average 0.12 seconds. Even with cybernetic implants, they cannot match your natural response. They moved to endurance testing. Daesung ran for 2 hours straight without stopping. His heart rate stayed steady, his breathing controlled. The medical staff kept expecting him to collapse, but he felt fine. A little tired, but nothing serious. Enough, Cardinal Verthax demanded. These tests prove nothing except that your equipment is flawed. Test his healing next. Wound him. Dr. Deshran hesitated. That seems excessive. Do it, the Cardinal insisted. Hyun Woo stepped forward. You're not cutting my brother open. It's okay, Daesung said quietly. A small cut. Let's see what happens. The medical team made a shallow incision on his forearm under controlled conditions. Blood welled up, bright red. Then they watched. The bleeding stopped within 30 seconds. The wound began closing. Within 5 minutes, only a faint line remained. Within 10, even that disappeared. Deshran ran scanners over the area. Impossible. This rate of cellular regeneration requires nanotechnology. But our scans show you are completely organic. How? I heal fast, Daesung said with a shrug. Humans do. Not this fast, the scientist insisted. I have studied human medical data. Your species heals faster than most. Yes, but not like this. This is. He trailed off, uncertain. Cardinal Verthax looked pale. He is an aberration. A genetic defect. Test another human. Prove this one is unique. That's when Marie arrived. She was Earth's diplomatic envoy to the Talvex Empire. A woman who had spent 20 years building relationships with alien governments. She walked into the testing facility like she owned it, guards scrambling to check her credentials. "Gentlemen," she said in perfect Talvex, "I believe you have my citizen in custody." "Not custody," Dr. Descherin said quickly. "Voluntary testing." Maria I looked at the armed guards. "Of course. Very voluntary." She turned to Daesung. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," he assured her. She nodded, then addressed the room. "Earth's government has been monitoring this situation. We are willing to cooperate with scientific inquiry, but we have conditions. First, Daesung is free to leave whenever he chooses. Second, all test data is shared with human medical staff. Third, we provide another test subject to prove Daesung is not unique." General Vrilther entered the room. Apparently, everyone important wanted to witness this. "You claim he is not unique? That other humans can perform similar feats?" "Daesung is completely average for a human," Mireille said calmly. "He teaches hand-to-hand combat. He's not military, not special forces, not enhanced in any way. He's just a regular person who happened to be in the right place yesterday." "Then bring us a human who is special," Cardinal Verthax demanded. "Bring us your best." Mireille smiled. "If you insist." She spoke into her communicator. "Send him in." The door opened. A man entered, shorter than Daesung, with an easy smile and relaxed posture. He wore simple clothes and carried nothing. "This is Tamin," Mireille introduced. "Former Special Forces, now retired. He's agreed to participate in your tests." Tamin bowed respectfully to the gathered officials. "Happy to help with your research." Dr. Descherin looked between the two humans. "What makes him different from Daesung?" "Training," Mireille said simply. "Daesung reacts on instinct. Tamin knows exactly what he can do and how to do it. You wanted to measure human limits? He can show you." They started the tests again. Tamin lifted weights that made the previous results look modest. He ran faster, reacted quicker, and when they asked him to demonstrate combat abilities, he moved through their advanced training simulation like it was a simple game. The simulation was designed for Kilrathi warriors with cybernetic enhancements. It involved multiple opponents, environmental hazards, and split-second decisions. The average completion time for enhanced Kilrathi was 12 minutes. Tamin finished in 6 minutes and looked barely winded. "How?" General Vrilther asked. "How is this possible?" Tamin smiled. "Practice. Lots of practice." They tested his durability next. With his permission, they fired low-power plasma rounds at him, the kind used for training that supposedly couldn't kill but would incapacitate organic targets. Tamin took 3 hits to the chest. The impacts knocked him back a step each time. His clothes burned, but his skin showed only minor burns that started healing immediately. "Enough," he said calmly. "I need to find cover now." He moved behind a barrier and waited 30 seconds for the burns to heal fully. Then he stepped out, ready for more. Cardinal Verthax grabbed Dr. Descherin's arm. "This cannot be. The divine limitations specifically state that organic tissue cannot withstand plasma energy without vaporization." Dr. Descherin pulled away, his eyes fixed on Tamin. "Perhaps the divine limitations don't apply to humans." "Heresy!" The Cardinal shouted. Mireille stepped between them. "Not heresy. Just facts. Let me explain something about Earth, about where humans come from." She pulled up holographic images of Earth. Beautiful blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Looks peaceful, doesn't it? It's not. Earth is what we call a death world. Our gravity is higher than most inhabited planets. Our atmosphere is oxygen-rich, which makes everything flammable. We have predators in every environment who evolve specifically to hunt other predators. More images appeared. Lions hunting, sharks circling, bears attacking, crocodiles lurking. We didn't evolve with natural armor or venom or size because we needed something better. We needed adaptability. Our bodies learned to heal quickly because getting hurt was constant. We learned to run fast and far because everything wanted to eat us. We learned to push past pain and exhaustion because stopping meant death. General Vrilthur studied the images. Your world shaped you into weapons. Our world shaped us into survivors, Mireille corrected. We almost went extinct 4 times in our history. Disease, climate change, war, famine. Each time, we survived because we refused to accept death. That's what humans are. We're the species that doesn't quit. Dr. Deshrin asked the question quietly, but everyone heard it. If your gods didn't impose limitations on you, what stopped you from destroying yourselves? Mireille met his eyes. Nothing stopped us. We almost did destroy ourselves several times. We chose not to. That's the difference. We make our own choices about our limits. The room fell silent. Cardinal Verthax stood frozen, his worldview crumbling. General Vrilthur looked thoughtful. Dr. Deshrin started making notes, his hands shaking slightly. Daesung watched it all and understood. This wasn't about him catching a plasma bolt anymore. This was about everything the galaxy believed about limits, about divine law, about what was possible. And humans had just proven that maybe, just maybe, those beliefs were wrong. 3 days later, High Priestess Yelshara arrived at the research facility. She was ancient, even by Talvek standards, her skin marked with ceremonial patterns that denoted a lifetime of religious service. Unlike Cardinal Verthax, who grew more desperate with each test, she came seeking truth. Tay-Min was in the middle of another demonstration when she entered. Dr. Deshrin had designed a new scenario, one that should have been lethal. A sealed chamber with temperature variations from freezing to burning, toxic gas releases, and automated weapons firing from random angles. It was meant to test the absolute limits of human survival. Tay-Min entered the chamber calmly. For 15 minutes, they watched him adapt to each threat. When the temperature dropped, his body adjusted, maintaining core heat through rapid metabolism. When toxic gas filled the room, he held his breath for an impossible length of time and moved to safe zones. When weapons fired, he dodged with precision that seemed almost precognitive. He emerged bruised and exhausted, but alive. Dr. Deshrin ran to him with medical scanners. Your core temperature dropped to dangerous levels, but your body compensated. The toxin exposure should have caused neural damage, but you show none. How did you know where the weapons would fire from? Tay-Min drank water before answering. I didn't know. I listened to the mechanisms charging and moved before they fired. Basic survival training. Basic, General Vrilthur repeated. You call this basic. High Priestess Yelshara approached Tay-Min. Young warrior, I must ask you a question. And do you have gods? Tay-Min seemed surprised by the question. Yes, priestess. Many people on Earth believe in various gods. Do these gods tell you what you cannot do? He thought about it. No, most of our religions encourage us to push beyond our limits, to become better than we are. She nodded slowly. I see. Thank you. She turned to Cardinal Verthax, who had been watching from the corner. We must speak with the full council. This changes everything. It changes nothing. Verthax shouted. These humans are aberrations, mistakes in creation. The divine limitations still hold true for all proper species. Mireille had been quiet until now. Proper species? Is that what you call everyone who follows your limitations? What if those limitations were never divine at all? The cardinal's face went red. How dare you speak such blasphemy? I speak truth, Mireille said calmly. And I have proof. She looked at Dr. Deshrin. Tell him what you told me this morning about the inconsistencies you found." The scientist hesitated. He glanced at the cardinal, then at the high priestess. Yelshara nodded encouragingly. "Speak freely, Doctor. Truth serves the gods better than comfortable lies." Dr. Veshran took a breath. "I have been analyzing the human test results against the divine limitations texts. The texts provide specific formulas for calculating maximum physical potential based on body mass, muscle density, and neural capacity. These formulas work for every known species. They accurately predict our limits. Then what is the problem?" Verdax demanded. "Humans don't fit the formulas at all. It's not that they exceed the limits slightly. They operate on completely different principles. Their muscles generate force in ways our physics can't fully explain. Their healing involves cellular processes we can't replicate. Their nervous systems process information through pathways we don't understand. Perhaps your understanding is flawed," Verdax suggested. "Or perhaps the divine limitations were never meant to apply to humans," Yelshara said quietly. "Because whoever wrote those texts never encountered humans." The room went silent. Haiyan Wu, who had been sitting with his brother, stood up. "May I share something? I'm a historian by training. I've studied the divine limitations text extensively. They're 40,000 years old, written by the Precursor Alliance. That's ancient, yes, but not ancient enough." General Vrilfer frowned. "What do you mean?" "Humans have been evolving for millions of years," Haiyan Wu explained. "We were already what we are long before the divine limitations were written. The text couldn't account for us because we existed in isolation on Earth. The precursors never found us." Marae added to her colleague's point. "And there's something else. The texts don't just describe limits. They seem to impose them. Every species mentioned in the divine limitations follows those limits exactly. Not approximately, exactly. Doesn't that seem strange?" Dr. Veshran went very still. "Are you suggesting the limits are artificial? That someone deliberately restricted our evolution?" "I'm suggesting it's worth investigating," Marae said. "Especially since humans prove that sentient life can exist far beyond what your texts claim is possible." Cardinal Verthax looked ready to explode. "This is madness. The divine limitations are sacred. They define reality itself. Then reality has some explaining to do," Daesung said quietly. Everyone turned to him. He rarely spoke during these discussions, but now he had their attention. "I'm not special. I'm not enhanced. I'm just a regular person who caught something hot. If your sacred texts say that's impossible, maybe your texts are wrong." Yelshara approached Daesung. "Show me your hand. The one that caught the plasma bolt." He extended his right hand. She examined it carefully, running her aged fingers over his palm. No scars. No marks. The plasma should have destroyed this hand completely. Your bones should be ash. Your flesh should be vapor. She looked into his eyes. Yet, here you stand, whole and healthy. I heal fast, Daesung said. You heal impossibly, she corrected. And that impossibility suggests that what we believe about possibility is wrong. Over the next few hours, Mireille presented more evidence. She showed them human history, full of examples of people surviving things that should have killed them. Soldiers fighting for days without rest. Athletes pushing their bodies to extremes. Explorers enduring environments that would kill most species. She showed them human achievements. Space travel developed in less than a century. Technology advancing at rates that seemed insane to longer-lived species. Cultural evolution that transformed their entire world in generations. You keep looking for what makes humans special, Murray said. But that's the wrong question. The right question is, what makes everyone else limited? Why do all other species hit the same ceilings? Why do they all follow the same rules? Dr. Desharin was scanning through databases frantically. I need access to the Great Archive. The original Divine Limitations texts, not the copies we use for teaching. Forbiddance, Rithak said. Only the highest religious authorities can access those. Yelshara smiled. I am the highest religious authority. Come, Doctor. Let us see what secrets our ancestors kept. General Vrilther assigned a security detail to accompany them. Haiyan Wu asked to join, and the High Priestess agreed. They left immediately, heading to the capital world where the Great Archive was kept. Daesung and Taemin were left in the facility with Mireille. The diplomat looked tired but satisfied. You two did well. Better than I hoped. We just told the truth, Taemin said. Truth is revolutionary when everyone believes lies, Mireille replied. The council will meet soon. They'll decide how to handle this information. Some will accept it. Others will fight it. Either way, humanity's position in the galaxy just changed. Daesung looked at his hand again, the one that caught the plasma bolt. Such a simple action, over in seconds. Yet it started something massive. He wondered if he should have just let the bolt hit the shields. Maybe they would have held. Maybe no one would have died, but that wasn't how humans thought. See danger, react, solve problem. Don't calculate odds or worry about consequences. Just move. What happens now? He asked. Murray gazed out the window at the alien sky. Now we wait for the truth to spread. And we prepare for the galaxy to realize that everything they thought they knew about limits is wrong. Far away. In the Great Archive, Haiyan Wu and Dr. Desharin followed High Priestess Yelshara through ancient corridors. The oldest texts were kept in a vault deep underground, preserved in stasis fields that had maintained them for millennia. An archon named Solmara guarded the vault. He was older than Yelshara, his species unknown even to the historians. He had been watching over these texts since before the Talvex Empire existed. High Priestess, he said, his voice like wind through caves. Why do you seek the Forbiddance texts? Because we found something impossible, she replied. And I believe these texts hold the answer to why it's impossible. Solmara studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled, an expression that looked wrong on his ancient face. Finally, I have waited 40,000 years for someone to ask the right questions. He opened the vault. Come, let me show you what the precursors did to your ancestors, and why the humans terrify me so much. They entered the vault, and the door sealed behind them. Whatever secrets waited inside would change everything. The vault was larger than Haiyan Wu expected. Rows of crystalline storage units stretched into darkness, each one containing texts older than most civilizations. Solmara moved between them with practiced ease, his movements quick despite his obvious age. The Divine Limitations, he said, pulling out a crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Everyone believes they are religious doctrine, sacred law handed down by the creator gods. He placed the crystal in a reader. Ancient text appeared in holographic form. They had nothing of the kind. High Priestess Yelshara leaned closer to read. Her expression changed from curiosity to shock. This is a technical manual, a genetic engineering protocol. Yes, Solmara confirmed. The Precursor Alliance created the Divine Limitations 40,000 years ago, not as religious teaching, but as biological fact. They encoded genetic restrictions into every species they encountered. Dr. Desharin studied the formulas displayed. These matched the limitation formulas exactly. Maximum muscle density, neural processing speed, healing capacity. All artificially imposed through genetic modification. His voice shook. They changed us. They changed all of us. Haiyan Wu felt sick. Why? Why would they do this? Solmara pulled out more crystals, displaying more documents. Fear. The precursors reached the peak of their evolution naturally. They became immensely powerful, nearly godlike. Then they stopped advancing. Their biology hit limits that seemed impossible to overcome. They stagnated. He showed them images of the precursor civilization. Beautiful cities, incredible technology, beings of pure energy and matter working together. They explored the galaxy and found younger species, primitive but evolving rapidly. Species that might one day surpass them. This terrified the precursors. So they sabotaged us, Yelshara said quietly. They made sure we could never become greater than them. Precisely, Somara confirmed. They visited developing worlds and altered the genetic codes of every sentient species they found. Small changes, subtle enough that natural evolution would never notice. They set maximum limits on physical capability, mental processing, lifespan, everything. Then they wrote religious texts explaining these limits as divine will. Dr. Deshrin scrolled through the data. The timing. They did this during pre-sentient stages of development. By the time species became advanced enough to study themselves, the limitations were already part of their biology. They thought it was natural. Every species in the galaxy? Hyanwu asked. Every species the precursors found, Somara said, which was nearly everyone. They spent 10,000 years traveling the galaxy, finding every world with potential sentient life and limiting it. He paused. Everyone except humans. Why not humans? Yelshara asked. Solmara smiled that wrong smile again. Timing. Earth is far from the galactic core in a relatively empty region of space. The precursors planned to visit eventually, but they ran out of time. Internal conflicts destroyed them before they reached Sol System. Humanity evolved naturally, without interference, without limits. The implications hit Hyanwu like a physical blow. Every species in the galaxy was artificially restricted. Every achievement, every advancement, every limitation they accepted as natural law was actually imposed by ancient beings who feared being surpassed. And only humans evolved free of those chains. This has to be made public, he said. Everyone deserves to know the truth. No. Cardinal Verthak's voice echoed through the vault. He had followed them somehow, bypassed the security. He stood at the entrance with a squad of religious guards. This information is forbidden for a reason. It would destroy society. Destroy faith. Destroy everything we have built. Somara turned to face him calmly. Truth does not destroy. Lies destroy. You have no authority here, Archon, Verthak spat. These texts are property of the Church. I am confiscating them and arresting all of you for heresy. General Vrilther stepped out from behind the Cardinal with his own security team. I'm afraid I can't allow that, Cardinal. These findings have military significance. They explain why humans pose such a threat or opportunity, depending on perspective. You dare defy religious law? Verthax demanded. I dare seek truth, Vrilther replied. Something you seem allergically opposed to doing. While they argued, Hyanwu copied everything he could to his personal device. Dr. Deshrin did the same. The data was too important to risk losing. Somara continued pulling out more crystals, seemingly unbothered by the confrontation. There is more you should see. The precursors didn't just limit evolution. They created protocols for dealing with unlimited species, should any ever arise naturally. He displayed a new document. Hyanwu translated the ancient text and felt his blood run cold. Extinction protocols. They planned to eliminate any species that evolved beyond the limitations. How? Dr. Deshrin asked. Engineered plagues, artificial disasters, targeted warfare, Somara listed. The precursors believed unlimited evolution would eventually lead to galactic destruction. Species fighting for dominance, using abilities beyond control. They saw limitation as mercy. "All control," Yelshara said bitterly. They wanted to remain supreme forever. Somara nodded. The irony is that their fear destroyed them. They spent so much effort limiting others that they never learned to overcome their own limits. Internal fighting over stagnation tore their civilization apart. Verthax pushed past Vrilthur's guards and grabbed one of the crystals. "These texts are corrupted, false, planted by enemies of the faith. I will have them destroyed." "Destroy them if you wish," Somara said calmly. "I have copies. Many copies. Hidden across the galaxy in vaults like this. The truth has been waiting for someone ready to hear it. Today, that day has come." The Cardinal raised his weapon, a plasma pistol that glowed with charging energy. "Then you will die with your lies." He never got to fire. Haiyan Wu moved without thinking, just like his brother had done days ago. He crossed the distance between them and knocked the weapon aside. The shot went wild, hitting the ceiling. The Cardinal stumbled backward, shocked. "I'm not a soldier," Haiyan Wu said, surprised by his own speed. "I'm a historian, but I'm also human. And apparently, that means I don't accept limitations." He looked at his hands still trembling from the sudden movement. He had moved fast, faster than he thought possible. Maybe Daesung wasn't unique. Maybe every human had this potential. General Vrilthur's guards arrested the Cardinal. Verthax screamed about heresy and persecution as they dragged him away. Yelshara watched sadly. He was a good man once. Fear made him desperate. Somara sealed the vault after they collected the essential data. The information will spread now. You cannot stop it. Every species in the galaxy will learn they were modified, limited, controlled. How they react will determine the future. They returned to the research facility to find chaos. News had leaked somehow. Scientists and soldiers argued in corridors. Religious officials demanded explanations. Communication channels overflowed with messages from across the empire. Mireille met them at the entrance. It started. Someone released preliminary findings to the public networks. Half the species in the Talvex Empire are rioting. Religious leaders are calling it a lie. Scientists are demanding access to the original texts. The Council of Species has called an emergency session. Who leaked it? Haiyan Wu asked. Daesung stepped forward, looking guilty. I did. Sort of. A reporter asked me about the tests, and I told them the truth. That we found evidence the divine limitations were artificial. It spread from there. Haiyan Wu couldn't even be angry. His brother had done the right thing, even if the timing was terrible. Truth couldn't stay hidden. Over the next hours, they compiled everything into a comprehensive report. Dr. Deschrin organized the scientific data. Haiyan Wu provided historical context. Yelshara wrote a religious perspective that acknowledged the findings while offering hope for the future. Even General Vrilthur contributed, analyzing military implications. The report was clear. Every species had been genetically modified by the precursors to prevent them from evolving beyond set limits. Humans escaped this modification due to geographical isolation. The divine limitations were not divine but artificial. And most disturbing, protocols existed for eliminating unlimited species. We need to present this to the full council, Mireille said. Every species needs to hear this directly, with all evidence available. They won't believe it, Taemin said. People don't want to learn they've been controlled their entire existence. Some will believe, Yelshara said. Some will deny. But all deserve to know the truth. Somara had accompanied them back to the facility. He stood by the window, looking at the stars. The precursors failed because they feared change. They tried to freeze the galaxy in place. Now you face a choice. Accept the limitations and live safely within them, or try to overcome them and risk the unknown. Humans already made that choice, Daesung said. We chose the unknown. Every single time. The Archon turned and smiled. I know. That's why I've waited so long to reveal this. The galaxy needed a species willing to show what's possible beyond the limitations. You are that species, whether you wanted to be or not. Emergency messages flooded in. The council session was scheduled for the next day. Every major species would attend. Earth was sending a fleet, not as a threat but as a statement of presence. Admiral Sohyan would represent humanity directly. That night, unable to sleep, the council chamber was built to impress. A massive dome showed the stars above, while representatives from 12 species sat in a perfect circle. Today, emergency protocols brought leaders from every corner of Talvek space. The room buzzed with angry voices in a dozen languages. Emperor Kralvex called the session to order. His voice boomed through the chamber without electronic amplification. We gathered to address revelations that challenge the foundation of our society. The divine limitations, sacred texts that have guided us for 40,000 years, are claimed to be artificial constructs. We will hear evidence and make decisions. Admiral Sohyan arrived with an Earth delegation and a visible fleet in orbit. She was a small woman by human standards, but she carried herself with absolute confidence. Haiyan Wu noticed the other species watching her nervously. They had seen the data. They knew what humans could do. Dr. Desharin presented first, showing the scientific evidence. Genetic markers that matched across all species except humans. Mathematical formulas that perfectly predicted biological limits. Cellular structures that seemed designed rather than evolved. His presentation was clear and damning. These modifications were introduced during pre-sentient development, he explained. By the time each species achieved space travel, the changes were invisible. We thought our limits were natural because we had no comparison. Until we met humans. A Kilrathi representative stood. This is impossible. Our texts speak of the creator gods establishing our nature. Are you saying there were no gods? That we evolved by accident? I'm saying your evolution was interfered with, Dr. Desharin replied. Whether gods exist or not, the precursors definitely did. And they changed you without permission. Riots were already happening across Talvek space. Some species embraced the news, seeing hope for growth. The deeply religious Veltharis saw it as ultimate blasphemy. Their worlds burned with protests. Several governments have collapsed overnight. Haiyan Wu presented the historical evidence next. He showed them Solmara-S records, documents from the Precursor Alliance itself, plans for genetic modification, protocols for managing younger species, religious texts written deliberately to explain artificial limits as divine law. The precursors feared being surpassed, he said, so they ensured no one could surpass them. They succeeded. Every species they modified stagnated at the levels they set. 40,000 years of civilization, and you've barely advanced beyond what the precursors left you. A Veltharis priest jumped up. Lies. Our advancement is guided by divine will, not artificial limits. Then explain humans, Sohyan said calmly. She stood, and all eyes turned to her. We evolved on Earth without precursor interference. In 40 years since first contact, we've matched or exceeded your technology in multiple fields. Our soldiers outperform your enhanced warriors. Our scientists solve problems your people consider impossible. Not because we're better, but because we were never told we couldn't. She activated a hologram showing human history. Cities growing from nothing. Technology exploding in mere centuries. Space travel achieved in a cosmic eye blink. We almost destroyed ourselves 6 times. Disease, war, climate disaster, nuclear weapons. We survived every time through adaptation and will. Your species hit limits and stop. We hit limits and pushed through. Emperor Kralvex looked troubled. You suggest we are inferior to humans? No, Sohayan said. I suggest you're restricted. There's a difference. Remove the restrictions, and you could achieve what we have. Maybe more. Cardinal Verthax, released from custody for the session, stood shakily. This human arrogance will doom us all. The divine limitations exist for a reason. Without them, species become too powerful, destroy each other, wreak chaos across the galaxy. Like humans have? Daesung asked quietly. All eyes turned to him. He rarely spoke at these formal events, but now he had questions. Have we destroyed the galaxy? Have we attacked your worlds? Or have we tried to build peaceful relations while you treat us like dangerous animals? The chamber fell silent. It was true. Humans had been peaceful despite their capabilities. They could have conquered, but chose cooperation. General Vrilther stood. I have fought beside humans in training exercises. I have seen what they can do. Yes, it is frightening. But fear is not a reason to deny truth. He faced the Emperor. We must decide. Do we acknowledge these findings and work to understand them? Or do we deny reality and cling to comfortable lies? High Priestess Yulshara rose slowly. I have spent my life serving the divine limitations, learning them, teaching them, enforcing them. Now I discover they are chains placed on us by beings who feared our potential. Her voice cracked with emotion. But I also see hope. If the limitations are artificial, they can be removed. We can become more than we are. Heresy. Vadak screamed. You abandon your faith for human lies. I abandon lies for truth, Yulshara corrected. There is a difference. The debate raged for hours. Some species wanted to accept the findings and begin research into removing genetic restrictions. Others demanded the evidence be suppressed. The Arachnus representative suggested quarantining humanity to prevent their influence from spreading. That suggestion merely started a war in the chamber. Mire finally called for order. You keep debating what to do about humans, but we're not the problem. The problem is that you were modified without consent. The question isn't whether to accept us. The question is whether you want to free yourselves. A young Talvek scientist named Jinho stood. He wasn't a representative, just an observer, but desperation made him speak. I have reviewed the genetic data. Dr. Veshran is correct. The modifications can be reversed, but it would take generations. Gene therapy, careful breeding programs, controlled evolution. It's possible. Possible but dangerous, an elder Kalarthi warned. We don't know what removing the limits would do. We could destroy ourselves in the process. Or become something greater, Jinho countered. Isn't that worth the risk? Emperor Kralvex raised his hand for silence. This council cannot make such decisions alone. Every species must choose their own path. But we can make other decisions today. Humanity has proven themselves capable and peaceful. I propose we grant them full membership in the Talvex Alliance, with equal voting rights and unrestricted access to all territories. Several representatives objected immediately. They are too powerful, too dangerous. They are people, General Vrilther said firmly. People who have shown more restraint than we would in their position. People who deserve respect. The vote was close. 7 species for 4 against, 1 abstaining. Humanity gained full membership. Sohayan bowed to the Emperor. Earth accepts this honor and promises to be worthy of your trust. What of the genetic modifications? A Valtherus representative asked. What do we do about them? Emperor Kralvex looked tired. Each species must decide for themselves. The Talvex Empire will fund research into understanding and potentially reversing the changes. Participation is voluntary. Those who wish to maintain their limits may do so. Those who wish to try exceeding them may attempt it. He turned to Solmara, who had been silent throughout the session. Archon, you have kept these secrets for 40,000 years. Why reveal them now? Solmara smiled. Because I was waiting for a species that could show the others what was possible. The precursors left protocols for eliminating unlimited species. I needed to ensure humanity would survive long enough to inspire change rather than be destroyed as threats. You used us, Sohain said without anger. You waited for humans to prove themselves before revealing the truth. Yes, Solmara admitted. And you performed perfectly. You caught a plasma bolt, survived impossible tests, and forced the galaxy to confront uncomfortable truths. All without violence or conquest. You are exactly what I hoped you would be. The session ended with tentative agreements. A joint evolution initiative would study the genetic restrictions and develop safe methods for overcoming them. Humans would share their training methods and physical development techniques. Each species would have access to the research and could choose their own path. As the representatives filed out, Daesung found himself surrounded by other species asking questions. How did he train? What did he eat? How did he push past pain? He answered honestly, but he could see the real question in their eyes. Can we become like you? Hyanwu pulled his brother aside. You know what you've done, right? You've given them hope. Hope that they can be more than they are. I just caught a plasma bolt, Daesung said again. You broke the universe, Hyanwu corrected. Everything changes from here. Weeks later, the first training programs began. Humans taught willing students from other species how to push their bodies beyond comfortable limits. The students struggled, failed, tried again. Slowly, incredibly slowly, they improved. A Talvex soldier held a heated metal bar for 5 seconds before dropping it, then 10, then 15. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. Dr. Deshren and a human geneticist named Ji Wu worked together developing gene therapies. The first trials wouldn't begin for years, but the research showed promise. The modifications could be reversed. Given time and care. High Priestess Yelshara wrote a new text, one she called The Book of Becoming. It acknowledged the truth about the divine limita